It started to feel like it was a nightmare. It went on, and as I screamed, he punched. Hi, I'm Lynn Hill, but I'm not sitting on the orange couch today as an inspirational speaker or a US published author or a life coach. I'm sitting on this couch today as a fellow sister, as a warrior woman who has transcended pain, transcended violation. As a child of the 60s, I was born into an apartheid system. We don't get to choose which families we are born into. We don't get to choose which religions we are born into, and I was born into a Christian, Cape-colored family. And so for most of my childhood, things were okay. My life was beautiful. I loved books, I loved reading. And then at the age of 15, all of that changed. I was asked to accompany someone who was older than me and whom I trusted with my life. I was asked to accompany her to a New Year's Eve party. I was the youngest at the party, and the older ones, they had gone to congregate in a bedroom, which I only found out later that it was blue movies that they were watching. As that 15-year-old, I was watching a Jane Fonda fitness movie, and I loved fitness, and I watched it over and over and over throughout the night. They were still in the room, in the house, till very early, very late in the morning. I was tired. I asked someone if there was any place for me to go and sleep. I was shown into a room, a bedroom. Obviously, in my sleep, I had no idea that I had been left alone in the house. They were going to return to the house to come back and fetch me. So when I was being lifted off the bed by this individual and taken to the toilet in my sleep, and then obviously waking up and then realizing, but what's happening? Why are you carrying me? Where are you carrying me to? He puts me down in the toilet and he starts to bash. It started to feel like it was a nightmare. It went on, and as I screamed, "You punched my mouth. I tried to plea. I tasted my blood. You punched my mouth. I tried to plea." And eventually, to stop the screaming, he started to choke me. I remember one point where he literally was lifting me off the ground with his hand. Reduced me, in what I call in my one poem, to a piece of pleading pulp. And reflecting back on it, this was really premeditated. It was his strategy of weakening the fight in me, of weakening my body, weakening my mind, and breaking my soul before he would actually break my hymen. He turned me around and my back was facing his.
You forced my legs open, I pushed them closed, you shoved them open.
And I had no idea. I was pure. I'd only been kissed once prior to that. And by this time he had obviously started to undress me. And he tried to have anal sex with me. I had no idea what anal sex was.
Stop it! Stop! No!
I was a virgin. I was a child.
No! Please don't!
And I screamed, and he eventually gave up. I remember at that point, I was getting so thirsty, and I begged him for water. And he said to me that I could not have water. He forced me onto my knees. I didn't know what he wanted me to do. And the blood in my mouth was really oozing now, and I wanted to dilute the blood. And I said, I'm thirsty, and I will drink from the toilet bowl. And as I was bending over the toilet bowl, I remember him pushing my head deeper into it and suffocating me. And it wasn't enough that he suffocated me. He actually then pulled the toilet chain, and it felt like what was supposed to quench, I started to drown in. And then he beat me some more. After that, he forced me onto my knees. I didn't know what he wanted me to do. And then he showed me what he wanted me to do.
And on my knees you shoved your thing, and on my knees I bit your thing. I was only 15 and didn't know what to do.
Each time I bit him, I was punished. My hair was pulled. I was smacked. There was very little fight left in me. The hardest part came after that, where he pushed me down onto the floor and he got on top of me, and I could not move because again he choked me, and then he started to stab me over and over. And over. By now I was lying in my own blood. He did not stop. I was starting to lose consciousness. And I remember lying there, regaining consciousness, opening my eyes, which were now starting to feel blurry, and I started to negotiate with him. I said to him, you made a mistake, and guess what? I'm not judging you. And what if I told you that I'm not going to tell anyone? would you please let me out of the toilet? In trying to convince him that I was serious, I told him that I would wipe up all of the blood and I would actually do away with whatever I needed to do away with. He flushed my underwear. This was someone who knew what he wanted to do and who knew how he wanted to do it. There was a sound at the door, a man's voice saying to him, "You have to open up now." He unlocked the door. They were discussing outside the toilet what to do next. They decided that I needed to get in a parked car. The windows of the car were open. I was put on the passenger seat. The keys were in the car as well. And I was left alone in that car. And when he went back in, I actually asked God, "God, where are you? And where am I going to? Where are they taking me? God, please don't let more of what happened happen." And God's response to me was, "Close all your windows and lock all the doors. I'll keep you safe in the car." And so I closed all the windows, locked the doors. I was panicking. The rapist came out to the car and he wanted to get in, and I said, "No, enough." And he tried negotiating, and I did not budge. He gave up negotiating and he went back inside. I got out of the car on the passenger side and I ran. The irony was that this was happening in the same road in which I had once lived a few years ago. So I knew the neighbors, and I went and I knocked at the one house and there was no answer. And I went to the next house and the neighbor happened to be outside, and he took me into his lounge. He let his wife see to me. Betrayal is unmet expectations. I was betrayed. I felt betrayed by the justice system. Apparently, I was not the first girl in the church who he had done this to. It was alleged that I was about the third or fourth girl. Betrayal is unmet expectations. I was betrayed. I felt betrayed by the justice system. The state prosecution pled for maximum. His attorney pled for 6 weeks. He was given a sentence of 10 years, of which I am told he only served a fraction, based on a character testimony that the church provided. But 1 year later, full-blown post-traumatic stress disorder set in. I needed full-blown therapy. And so began the journey of healing. And I would sit in my school uniform and silently scream. And yet, it was in those moments that my divine purpose and my own career was birthed. That was the birthing of the indirect link and the existential link I would make between having gone through this level of trauma and how I'd be able to use the trauma that I had gone through to serve the trauma of others. It was in those moments that I decided I would study psychology, because I chose to find meaning, and my meaning in my pain was to help others explore their own pain, but also transcend it. So the only sense that I could possibly make about a second rape in my life is the fact that knowing now that nothing happens for nothing and that it had to mean something, I had to accept that I was raped again. The circumstances were very, very different. So here I was, having felt everything at 15, and there I was at 51, feeling absolutely nothing. The rape at 51 was a drug rape. I had accompanied someone who was older and whom I trusted to a venue under the guise of attending a business meeting in Sandton. I felt I owed her a level of protection. And when we got to the venue, the venue seemed more like a bar, pub style place. And my first question when I got to that venue was, where is the CEO? And I was told that the CEO would be another 20 minutes. While waiting for the CEO, the individual insistently said, you know what, Lynn, there is nothing wrong with you actually having a glass of wine while waiting. And I had that glass. And all I remember, my last memory was not even finishing the glass. My last memory was me standing one moment at the table. Between that last memory and my first memory after that, there was an unaccounted 6 to 6.5 to 7 hours of my life. I regained consciousness, still highly disorientated, in a car park in Morningside. I was found, thank God, by a group of women, and then recognized that I was totally disorientated. And so they assisted me, took me to Morningside police station, and the police refused to see me because they considered me to be drunk. I remember taking my first shower after that, and as I got into the shower, I had the foulest smell on my body, and I burst into tears because my soul knew and recognized that the foulness of that smell did not come from one man. My soul knew at this point in time that I had been gang raped. Had I needed to do this even 5 years ago, particularly around the second rape, I might not have gone public because I might have feared the opinion of others. I sit in a state of wholeness right now, a state of spirit and not ego. In my truth, I have become immune to others' opinion or judgment. And so through this, I've needed to come to terms with a lot of other truths. And I've needed to make decisions about protection. I've needed to trust, I've needed to learn to trust my intuition even more. And hopefully through my story, I'll inspire others to do the same.